Okay, so this one is trading Cam Johnson, which ironically is the run it back plan, which is
Run it
funny.
back.
Um, run
Yeah.
it back by trading away a starter. Um, so in this one, this right here, swapping Cam Johnson for Ron Holland, I did put this note because technically they need to like send off money somewhere, whether we take on like Karis LeVert and then dump him into someone's salary cap space, or whether we do it in this 3 team trade, it doesn't really matter. But basically, the Pistons are getting Cam. The Nuggets get Ron Holland, who is a legit, like, all defense level wing. The defensive playmaking metric that I talked about earlier, stop percentage, he's 100th percentile. Not 100th because Asar, his teammates, 100th. 99th percentile in that metric. All of his defensive numbers are just off the charts. I think the Pistons would be willing to move him because he's very redundant with Asar. We're talking about a very, very limited offensive player.
Hmm.
Not quite as limited as Asar, in my opinion. But when push came to shove in the playoffs, Ron Holland was the one getting did not play coaches' decisions uh, during playoff games this year. So I think, coming off a 60-win season and then a disappointing playoff exit, I think they'd be willing to move on from him for a more help offensively. And
Hmm.
Cam's not on a crazy contract. It's expiring. They're gonna have to pay Duran. I think it's a trade that makes sense for both teams. The
Hmm.
Pistons just have to be willing to give up on someone they drafted in the top 5 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Right.
And then the second trade I have here, this is kind of a interesting one to talk about because of the way Valanciunas' contract works. But it's the Nuggets getting Trey Jones again. I already talked about him. I think he'd be a great 6-man type of backup ball handler for the Nuggets. And then, so the way Jonas's contract works is that for trade specifically, he has a 10 million salary, but only 2 million of it is guaranteed. That 2 million for the Nuggets in any salary matching, that 2 million is all that counts for the salary matching for them.
Okay.
For the acquiring team, they have to be able to take the whole 10 million. Now the Bulls, they can, because the Bulls are going to be a cap space team.
Right.
They can take the full 10 million plus Zeke. They can then waive Jonas if the as long as they don't mess with the contract at all and they trade it as is, then they can waive Jonas and only have 2 million dead. And just like the Nuggets could do, they could stretch it over 3 years. It's
Mm.
especially for a team that has pretty even more so than the Cronkies been like we're just not spending money.
Right.
Like they haven't been over the tax in I don't know how long. 666,000 for the next 3 years is not gonna dent them that much. They're not gonna be spending that much money anyway. And then you give up pick 26 because you're shooing Zeke away in this trade. And then Trey Jones, his number is 8 million for the next 2 years, but next year is a team option, so only guaranteed money on this coming season. So you're acquiring a good contract as well. And then this is what I would have the roster looking like. Any draft picks that we have, I didn't actually like. I don't know enough about the NBA draft to like come up with a
Hmm.
name that might be there at 49. So that's
Okay.
just whoever they pick. It doesn't matter what position it is. But what do we think of this roster?
Do you have Marvin Bagley on a minimum, or do we have money for like a mid-level for him? How are we getting him?
It would be on a minimum.
Oh, okay. So I've got to be honest. I haven't watched Ron Holland a lot, but I guess the concern with me is you said that the Pistons would be willing to move him because he's redundant with Asar. I
Hmm.
feel like he's maybe a little bit redundant with Watson. But I guess if you got him off the bench, then you're not bringing him in to play like 30 minutes a game the way Cam was, right?
No, no, he would not. He would if he played himself into a 30-minute role. This would be like one of the best trades anyone's made in the last couple of years.
I gotcha. Okay. So yeah, you're
The
not
thing, the
actually.
thing with Holland, he's not. He's as good as Watson has shown he can be on defense.
Hmm.
There are levels to it, and Holland is just so much better in every facet of defense, at least in my opinion.
Okay.
Um, and to be fair, Watson is as limited as I think he still is offensively, is still leaps and bounds better than Ron Holland on that end.
Yeah.
So you would have to be able to put the right lineups together. Like if you threw out Christian, Ron Holland, and Spencer in between Murray and Jokic, I don't think that would work at all.
Right.
Like you would have to get creative with the lineups you're throwing out there. But Ron Holland's the type of person, the type of player that I do think if you like if him and AG can play together, those two, no matter who you put in the fourth spot in lineups with Jokic, Murray, Holland, and Gordon, if you just like let's say you bring back Tim Hardaway. Let's say he wants to come back on a minimum. Tim's not a defender, but he's one of the best shooters in the league.
Hmm.
I think that's a lineup that would still work because I think Holland and Gordon would have the unique defensive skills to hold those units together. Maybe not as like a starting unit, but those lineups I think would win their minutes by a lot.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What do you think of Ron Holland as, I know this is like a very specific thing, but a screener?
That is
I
a
don't know if
great
they.
question.
I don't know if they use him as that much.
Hmm. Because
I
I see his 3-point percentage, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
tough.
he's an awful fit with
So
CB. He'd have to wouldn't like he could never play with CB basically.
But if
yes,
you can
I
be a
agree
good
with that
screener,
wholeheartedly.
that can kind of like mitigate.
So
You can use him creatively in ways maybe because I do like the Peter. I know you mentioned this creates some redundancy. Defensive redundancy might be good,
yeah,
especially if you're trying to
I
protect Aaron Gordon and reduce his workload. I think that could be a
Sure, I
positive.
guess the thing is like I like the upside on Ron Holland. I totally understand why Josh is into him. My main question about him is I just don't know how Ron views himself as like a player going forward. Does he still think he's going to be like an all-star one day, or is he like bought in
Bruh.
to being a
What do
good
you
role player?
listen,
mean? He's a
man.
25% 3-point percentage. I don't know what you mean.
Like, listen,
I don't.
he's got he would we'd be talking. Listen, I'm not gonna presume to like know everything about Ron Holland, right? Like, you asked me if he's a good screener. I haven't watched the Pistons enough to have an opinion on specifically his screening. Like, and
Understandable.
there's no, unfortunately, I don't have access to any numbers that would, if those even exist. I'm sure teams have stuff like that.
Hmm.
I have no idea if he's a good screener. He's big and physical, so you would think that he'd be able to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about him as a person, but he would have to be like just a real egomaniac to think 3, 4 years into his career with the type of offensive development he's had to still think that like being an
I'm
all
a
star
me
is on
guy.
the table.
True.
You want to be first team all defense? I get that. Sure.
Yeah, for be the guy who saves the Nuggets defense. Like
Oh, and we do
you
kind of
you
need.
I do like
Yeah.
adding the athleticism. He's a much more athletic player than Cam
He's a
Johnson.
great athlete, and I will say, if you give him the ball, if you give him the ball and you're like, just drive to the cup, he gets to the rim, finishes okay, and has a really high free throw rate.
Okay, I like that.
So
That sounds
you could
interesting too.
explore actions like that with him on the court to like mitigate the fact, like if if he's sitting in the corner, no one's gonna guard him. So
Right.
like you would have to, this is where Adelman would have to earn his paycheck and
Oh dear.
figure out a way to figure out a way to make the offense work, because at a certain point everybody
Yeah.
wants the defense to be better, but there's this thing that happens when I put out a lot of fake trades on Twitter. You'll see
Uh,
them and they hit me up in the comments and they're like, these players are terrible, the offense is going to be terrible, and I'm like, guys, you need good defensive players to get the
Yep.
defense better. And unless
right.
we're acquiring OG Anunoby, you're not getting great offensive players who are also great defensive players. Like, there's just not that many of those alive.
Right.
You can afford one non-shooter on the floor.
Yes, you
Only
can.
one though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think that's a great point, Josh, because I think the Thunder have kind of shown the last couple of years that like you can have some one-way players if they're good defenders because your stars are going to carry on offense anyway. Like Shea and J Dub are going to take the shots at the end of games. Murray and Jokic are going to take the
Hmm.
shots at the end of games for us. So if we just have those 2, 3, and 4 guys playing great defense, that would take so much pressure off Jokic and Murray because I've seen so many games the last couple of years where scoring is not an issue for us down the stretch. We just can't get a damn stop.
Sometimes it is,
Yes.
but
Well,
Sometimes, but
yeah.
crunch time
we
it
need to be
is.
more we need to be more balanced.
But you don't have to play Ron Holland in crunch time.
Right.
No, you do not.
So I'm intrigued. I'd be like, yeah, I'm open to this.
And Josh,
I
correct me if
will.
I'm
I
wrong.
will say. Yeah. What's up?
He's Ron Holland's played 2 years, right? He's got 2 years left on his rookie deal.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct. Yeah.
sweet.
And I will say, when one of the things, Reddit is its own scary animal, but I do like to go on teams Reddits like the Pistons to see, everybody's throwing fake trades around. How do they think of their players?
Mm-hmm.
They're Pistons fans. So when you float the idea of just swapping him for Cam Johnson, they attack you and send you mean DMs.
Mm-hmm.
So would the Pistons give up Ron Holland? Do the Pistons front office think of Ron Holland like their fans do? If they do, then they're probably not doing this trade.
Right.
But you never know.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know where he fits in their hierarchy because it's clearly Cade, Duran, Asur are like their top three, no doubt, and then that's probably their
Mhm.
core. I don't know if they view as Holland as part of their core or not.
I mean, he played 20 minutes a night this year.
He
Not bad.
did, and then if you go look at his play, it's weird. They weren't playing him, but they would still play him for 30 seconds, so he didn't get a DNP
hmm
in the playoffs, which I thought was weird. I don't know what's going on there. That's a
That
little
is
weird,
weird.
but
Yeah.
Other thoughts on this? Josh Okogie is a free agent. He's a vet that is an okay shooter and
Plays
good
hard.
defender who plays hard, really good positional rebounder, and has good defensive playmaking numbers.
Oh yeah.
Marvin Bagley, just straight up one of the best rebounders on a per minute basis in the league.
Mm-hmm.
He struggled to stay healthy, but I think if you get him on a minimum, I think he'd be. I think he's the kind of backup center that they need, and I also do think he could play the 4 next to Jokic. You could at least try it
Absolutely.
credibly. They
I
threw
think he could
Valanciunas
definitely
out
play
there
the
to
dunker
try it.
spot. Yeah, he's pretty long. I feel like if he got lobs from Jokic, that'd be pretty nice for the offense.
Yes, and his finishing around the rim is among the best, even among bigs. It's like the positional percentiles are
Yeah.
really, really high up there.
I
Very good
wonder if they're
finisher
looking
too.
at him because I would love to have Marvin Bagley on the Nuggets. Who knows?
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this one before we move on?
I would love to have a
Um,
backup center that's like
yeah,
in his 20s.
it's definitely a gamble. I do like the thing I like most about it is mostly just the fact that Ron Holland has 2 years left on his deal, so it's not like a if we keep Cam Johnson for whatever reason going into next season, it's like I don't really know what the point of that is unless you just think he's going to help you win the title in 27 because he's got 1 year left on his deal. Like Cam, you kind of either need to trade or extend him. So this accomplishes getting something good for him.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
That'd be a
I,
smart
I
move.
agree. Yeah, and you probably the only reason you would want to keep Cam long term is if you had a good sense or if he's indicated that he would play on a mid-level ish
Right.
salary, which
That
would be
would,
just a straight up step down from the money he's making right now. So I
Yeah.
don't know if he would be willing to do that. Well, this is probably going to be the last market value contract he thinks he can get in his career after this season.
Yeah. I also want to throw out the fact that this is not me having any type of inside info or not even just like reading the tea leaves, but just everything Jokic has said this past year. If he wanted Cam Johnson back in Denver, I feel like he'd be more vocal about that. It's not like he said, "Get this guy here, he sucks." It's not that. It's just that he's been adamant about Aaron's his guy, Christian is his guy. I've never seen him have that kind of positive talk about Cam Johnson. It's mostly been like, yeah, he could be good for us, or yeah, he's a smart player, like stuff like that. Like you guys get what I'm saying? Like it just seems like he doesn't really care that much if he's here or not because he's not like an impact player.
are you saying that Cam is NPC Michael Porter?
Well, I mean, I don't think the podcast stuff helps. Like I know he doesn't say crazy shit the way Mike does, but it's like
Which is
I'm serious though. I don't feel like Jokic. I don't think Cam is in the circle of trust, even though he plays like
the
smart
right.
basketball, right? Like that was the big appeal, right? Miroslav was all about like, oh, Cam Johnson plays so much smarter than Michael Porter. It's like, yeah, I still saw Jokic yell at Cam plenty this year.
Yeah.
I think Jokic had gotten used to Mike not playing the right way, if that makes sense.
Well, it was also something they kind of
You get used to
encouraged.
Mike. Yes, you get used to Mike having the kind of mentality that he did, and I think he utilized it as a weapon for the offense. And then when
Right.
Cam came in and Cam is just able to do more things on the basketball court, but he's not quite he just doesn't have the
disappears a lot
I'm
though,
gonna
man.
catch it and
He
see.
does.
I
There's
think that's so much more a function of the role that him and Mike play in the offense.
Uh-huh.
And I think, at least to me, that was a little bit confirmed with Cam coming here and Mike going somewhere else, right?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
we saw in Brooklyn last year with Cam that he is able to handle the ball a little bit and initiate certain actions and make good decisions on the fly. So we know he can do that. They just didn't use him that way. They used him like Michael Porter, and
Right.
he's not Michael Porter. Michael
No.
Porter would catch the ball, minimum 6 times a game, and just no matter what, he's shooting it.
he doesn't
Like,
see
that wasn't.
contests.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
just that's not Cam. And Cam is a great shooter in his own right, but it's just different.
Cam
Yeah,
sees
I don't.
contests and then drives the ball and then tries to make another pass. And I think that part I kind of get what you're saying, Peter, in
Hmm.
terms of like the frustration with Cam is because Cam is a little bit more patient and Cam can do a little bit more and they feel more confident in him. Like, oh, I'm gonna pump fake and drive and try to make something happen. When Jokic is like, I hit you in the corner, I want you to shoot the ball.
Right. It's almost like not a great fit for Cam, right? It's almost like he would like to play even more team-oriented basketball. Like he'd probably be a
Hmm.
great fit on the Spurs. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're a little more like Jokic is gonna draw the double, bring the gravity. Time for you to shoot.
Well, I think it's also a
Yeah.
Murray thing. Like
Sure.
Yes.
the dynamic of having Murray and Jokic together is that they're going to play together and kind of play as a duo. And, you know, as much as we can kind of hypothesize about, well, what if they kind of open up the offense and play a different way and be more egalitarian? Jamal has never really thrived in that way
True.
where they put him off ball. And I think sometimes he just kind of disengages. And I think that can be tough. So I don't know if I see, and maybe this will come in one of the next trades you have, but how do you have this like opportunity for Cam to do what he does while Jamal still kind of dominates the ball the way he does?
Fair. Well, they used Cam a lot as the stagger guy, which I thought he was decent at.
Yeah, yeah, I think
The
he'd be a
the
great six
numbers
man.
the numbers with him staggering were really really good. That's the one thing they couldn't stagger Mike. It never
No.
worked. They did stagger Cam and it did work. The numbers with him and Valanciunas on with like Murray off were like very very good. At least
Yeah,
relative to the standard that the Nuggets want to hit.
Nuggets benches of the
Um,
past.
Josh, before
Yeah.
before we move on, I have one last question. Who do you think is a better basketball player right now, Cam Johnson or Peyton Watson? Because I understand, like, if people think maybe Cam's a more win now player, I just think for what the Nuggets need, to me, like Peyton gives you more of the other stuff that like Jokic and Murray can't do.
So I agree that Peyton is a better fit for the Nuggets,
Mhm.
but I do think like just purely right now, Cam is still a better player.
Okay.
Now, Peyton's really young. He could show up next year, whether it's on the Nuggets or not, and just instantly just be like, no, I've internalized everything that happened last year. I improved my handle. I improved my process as a scorer. I stopped turning the ball over so much. And it's not even a question that I'm better than Cam Johnson now. That could happen.
Could be.
But I still think right now I would say Cam.
I would give it to
That's
Peyton
fair.
just because of the. I think as much as Cam is a better, like going from Michael Porter to Cam, Cam is a better team defender.
Mm-hmm.
I I like Peyton a lot more as someone who can be like a genuine impact guy defensively when he is tasked with that. I also think it's a rebounding thing for me. I like him and I like what he does, but he pulls like three boards a game, and I just don't think that is adequate given his size. Like I think if when you think about Aaron Gordon and Cam Johnson, you think of them as two big forwards, and you kind of want to win the
Mm-hmm.
physicality battle there. But I, again, one of the biggest issues I had in this playoff series is that the Nuggets got out rebounded, and
Mm-hmm.
I think Cam is a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a valid critique of his game for sure.
But that's just me.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think my big difference in like why I like Peyton more long term is also just and this the stats, the numbers won't back me up on this, but I just feel like Peyton attacks more. Like I feel like he has the mentality of like we're either gonna score on this possession because of me, or I might miss or I might turn it over. Cam plays the more like I'm gonna play it safe basketball, which
Mhm.
I don't know if Jokic and Murray are good enough to win with guys like that anymore, Ray. I feel like we need more like I'm gonna go out and do it, guys.
You know when they talk about like trucks and trailers on inside the NBA or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
Peyton is way more of a truck. Cam is way more of a trailer, respectfully.
100%.
I haven't heard that analogy, but I like it.
100%.
Sometimes you need an efficient trailer to carry
Right.
stuff and get down the road, but also sometimes you need something that's gonna like pull the whole
I
machine
mean,
forward.
Murray's trucks can still like
Mhm.
go in the fast lane on the highway, but it can only go for a few miles,
Um, yeah, very limited off-road capability.
right?
You know, things get rough, and he kind of like he might be a rear wheel drive, you know, asphalt only vehicle.
That's
Mhm.
what's so fascinating about like talking basketball and contracts, right? It's like when Jamal got his max extension and like didn't get any better, that's when like the fan base kind of turned on him for a while. And my thing is like, you don't want a guy to keep increasing his usage, right? Like you'd rather him be good and be efficient. So I'm
Sometimes
glad that
sometimes you do, but I think
I feel like
Jamal's
people expected
usage
him
was
to be Dame.
already.
He was never going to be Dame.
I wanted him to be Dame.
I know you did.
That would have been sick.
I kind of wanted, that is actually what I wanted. Yeah. I just wanted him to like pull 13 threes a game and have people so afraid of his shot that he just kind of made everything else easy for him. But
Yeah.
I
don't know.
I had been begging for Jamal to shoot way more threes forever, and he even this year
He
he
finally
made a
did.
noticeable difference in his shot diet by taking more threes. I still don't think he took enough.
Hmm.
I still think he needs to take more. I still think it's not in his head that when he's coming up and he's getting the ball from Jokic on a handoff, it's still not drilled into his head enough, in my opinion, that he can just take a three right there and he can get that shot off quick enough. Most of the time, the defender chasing is probably going to foul you, honestly, if he tries to contest, and then you get 3 free throws anyway.
True.
I would love to see a season where he puts up double digit threes a game because he's just not good enough at like getting to the rim and getting like drawing fouls. Like I know it's not like the coolest thing in the world to champion being
I know
able
we
to get
hate
to the
flopping.
line, but we hate flopping. But you know, this is one of my biggest issues with Jokic is that he started flopping, but he doesn't
Yeah.
do it in a way that gets free throws.
Yeah.
He does it in a petty kind of like, I need my
He does it to
calls.
get he
Yeah.
does it to make a point to the ref and to get a side out of bounds, and those don't put points on the board. Free throws do.
Right.
Right. But kind of to your point about Jamal, I mean, in the championship here, I'm looking at his stats right now in the playoffs, he shot 7.5 threes a game. And I think the next year he shot 6 and then 7 and 7 this year. But 26%. I think that was the big
Rough
thing. Yeah,
series.
so
Mm-hmm.
when he does, he just, I don't know, he kind of got smothered off that line. And wasn't enough to create that space.
It's
Um,
tough, man.
but this isn't the Murray hate cast. I'm not a Jamal Murray hater.